It was in 2015, and it was the first time really that I knew something was wrong, because I had the most incredible stomach pains. They were so bad that I couldn't do anything. I was in agony, and I remember trying to get Pepto-Bismol, because I thought maybe, you know, it was just a stomach pain really. So drove around on a Sunday trying to find a shop that was open that would sell some sort of stomach product, and eventually, you know, after a few hours I got some Pepto-Bismol, and I took it, and I thought, hey, you know, great, we're all good now. So that was that. A couple of days later, got the stomach pains again. Same thing, I thought, you know, let's just next some Pepto-Bismol and all will be good. And meanwhile, the stomach pains were increasing in pain. Like, they were at points debilitating. I was on the bed, I was doubled over. I would wake up some nights and I didn't know what to do. I was in tears. I was literally just in my room, curled in a ball, rolling around on the bed, crying because it was so painful. And that's when I sort of started looking on the internet, thinking, other people have obviously gone through this, you know, stomach problems. You know, you don't think about anything else. You just think maybe, you know, gas, trapped wind, something stupid like that. You know, you don't want to be bothering people. You don't want to be going to the hospital for things like this. So, you know, I just pushed it to the back of my mind and carried on. Another week or two, you know, I was fine, absolutely no problems at all. And then again, the stomach pains would come, and they're increasing every single time they come. They're getting worse. They are getting worse and worse and worse. And man, I don't think I will ever forget the one night where we'd had midnight training, and I got the stomach pains at training. And I couldn't stop. I wanted to stop. I wanted to curl up in a ball in the corner, but you can't. You can't do it when there's so many other people in a room in a gym on your team, depending on you. You know, you've got your part to play in that team, and you have to do it. So, you know, maybe I complained a bit more than normal that day, and I just carried on. We went back to our house, and I remember it was when the Game of Thrones series got leaked, so there was like 4 episodes, and we were all really excited because we were going to go watch Game of Thrones. So we had this like big old corner sofa that belonged to Kenny, and we got down to watch Game of Thrones, and I was in agony. I knew something was really wrong because I couldn't stay awake. I was so tired, and I was in so much pain. We were watching Game of Thrones, and Rory decided to bring out Hootie the Owl. Hootie the Owl trying to cure cancer. If you don't know, Hootie the Owl is essentially a wheat bag that you put in the microwave, and he heats up. And I put him on my stomach, and it maybe eased the pain a little bit. If anybody has any questions, by the way, during this, please feel free to ask. I've got the comments switched on so I can see if you're saying anything. Feel free to ask. So we were on the sofa. I was trying to cure cancer with a wheat bag, and I kept passing out during Game of Thrones, and I'd wake up again and not really know what exactly was going on, but it's Game of Thrones, so you know what is going on half the time. So that was that night, and it kept getting worse. Like, I can't describe how painful these stomach pains were. They were awful, like absolutely awful. So one night I woke up. Oh, I forgot to mention I was having a whole bunch of time off work because of these stomach pains. They would literally stop me dead in my tracks for a couple of days. Like, there was nothing I could do for a few days apart from sit in bed and essentially cry when no one was around, obviously. But yeah, one night I was Googling stomach pain, and it said severe stomach pain, persistent severe stomach pain, go to A&E. And I was thinking, no, surely not. You can't go to A&E and go, I've got a stomach ache. That's such a waste of their time. And I think there was like a big push at the time as well about, you know, not going to A&E, calling your doctor, waiting and things like this. And it was 4 or 5 in the morning. I remember, what sort of pain was it? Aching, stabbing? It was just complete and utter agony. It wasn't stabbing. It was, I remember it was like here on the top half of my stomach, and it would come in waves. It was like always painful, but it would come in waves. And when one of the real bad waves of pain hit, it was something else. Like, it just brought tears to my eyes, shut my systems down. I couldn't do anything, like, apart from curl into a ball and cry. So 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I decided that's it. I can't do anything. We'd had training that day as well. I distinctly remember we'd had midnight training. So, in fact, this was the week before Worlds. That week, determine food trigger like fatty or acidic. I will come on to that in a minute, actually. It was the week before Worlds, and we'd been training that weekend because we had showcase the following Sunday. We flew out the following Monday, so it would have been a Sunday night, literally 8 days before I was due to get on a plane and fly out to Worlds. First year we were going to Stingray's gym, so I'm thinking, I can't go to Worlds like this. I need this sorted. This needs happening. Anybody who is watching that is not familiar with my sport, I am a cheerleader. Any questions about cheerleading, please feel free to ask. It's not dancing around with pom-poms, it's chucking people in the air and catching them. Anyway, week before Worlds, 5 o'clock in the morning, I go to A&E. The nurses look at me, and I remember them asking, one of them said to me, "Are you usually this grey?" And I looked at my skin and I was like, am I grey? I'm just kind of like a pale guy, generally. Maybe I'm just pale. Maybe that's it, you know. And they took my blood pressure and everything, and a doctor came in with a wheelchair, or someone came in with a wheelchair and told me to sit down. And I remember at the time thinking, why do you want me to sit down? I've literally just trained all weekend. And I remember saying to them, I don't need to sit down, I'm okay. And they were like, no, you need to sit down. And I was like, no, I don't. I can go for a run around this building. If you want me to, I can literally go out and run around this building. And the doctor looked at me and he said, your blood score is so low, we don't quite understand how you're standing up. You should be crawling. You should be on your hands and knees, and you should be crawling. And I can distinctly remember that training session. I did one toss to hands, pressed it to lib, popped it off, and that was it. That was me done. I was so out of breath. I was so tired. I just couldn't do anything. I don't know how I managed to do anything that weekend. I really don't. And correct me if anybody medical is watching this, correct me if I'm wrong, because it was a while ago. I think they used to score blood differently, and I think it's out of 12. They transfuse at a 10, and mine was a 7. Something like that. So I was admitted to hospital for an emergency blood transfusion the week before Worlds. And I'm just sort of thinking, this is bizarre. Like, how can I be losing blood? I've not lost blood. They were asking me all these questions about, you know, bathroom habits and colour and things like that to try and figure out where the blood was going. And they wanted to do a colonoscopy. So camera up the bottom. Wasn't looking forward to that one, I can tell you that. I also had an iron transfusion. You're correct, Mother. I did also have an iron transfusion, a blood and iron transfusion. I think it was a double blood. I think I had 2 lots of blood because I was that low. That was a couple days later. I was admitted on the Sunday night, Monday morning, and I think I had the transfusion Wednesday, possibly. I wasn't really eating too much either. And earlier somebody asked me if certain foods set it off. At the time, I didn't think much of it, really. I wasn't really looking at what I was eating. I thought, when I was in hospital, maybe it was going to get diagnosed there and then, and people would have maybe a better idea about it. So, week before Worlds, in hospital, I don't know what's going to happen. But I remember getting that blood transfusion on the Wednesday and immediately feeling 100 times better. I couldn't believe I'd let myself feel so bad and not realise it. It was the slowest decline in health I can think of. It was such a slow drop off. I did lose a lot of weight, but I was on a diet and I thought it was working, so I was like, yeah, this diet's awesome. 26% of my total body weight I'd lost by that point. There are pictures on Instagram if you want to see how much weight I lost. I had 3 units of blood. I'm glad you can remember, Mother, because I certainly can't. I did have 3 units of blood and an iron transfusion. And I lost 26% of my total body weight, which was mostly muscle, I think they told me, eventually. I've gone blurry. I'm not drunk, honestly. It's the camera and the light. But yeah, so I had that on the Wednesday, and immediately I felt better, but they didn't want me to leave hospital. And I'm really starting to panic now. I'm like, I have to make Worlds. I have to be on that floor. I've trained almost a year for this. In fact, I've trained... My mum's stealing the show. Cheers, Mother. Yeah, great. My mum wasn't at Worlds. I nearly wasn't. Where was I? Yeah, cheers, Mum. You've made me lose my train of thought. Yeah, Wednesday, I had to make that floor. There was no other way about it. I had it in my mind that I trained for a year and I was going. You will be sorry, Mother. I had it in my mind that I was going. So that was that. Nothing. I told all the doctors. I told all the nurses. They said, "What are you flying to America for?" And I said, "Cheerleading." I didn't know what cheerleading was, and I wasn't about to correct them because they probably would have said I couldn't go. But I do remember me and my mum were looking at insurance policies on the Saturday to cover me for the blood transfusion. And one thing I will say about the blood transfusion, whoever gave me that blood, thank you so much, because you allowed me to... Mum wasn't happy about me going, but, I was going to go anyway, whether anyone was happy about it or not. But yeah, thank you to whoever gave me that blood, because without you, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did. Coincidentally, I can't give blood anymore ever again because of the transfusion, which really kind of sucks, because, maybe I should just let my mum go on Facebook Live. Maybe next time I'm in Bristol, I should do a Facebook Live with my mum in the lounge. Yeah, I was really kind of upset about not being able to give blood ever again. But, again, still at the time I had no idea what was going on with my body. And they didn't really... Mum must go live with you. Live with you? Live with you. Live with you. She could go live with me. Mum, this is not cool. Stop stealing my thunder. She's in Bristol. I'm in Manchester. But, yeah... Saturday, I was still in hospital, and my mum was desperate to come up and be with me in the hospital. But I was telling her, I'm okay. I've had this blood transfusion. I feel a lot better. It can't be that serious. I'm good again now. They're gonna let me out soon. Let's just play it by ear, see what happens. So we were looking for insurance, and I had to tell them that I had this blood transfusion. Didn't know what it was yet. Anyway, we found insurance, and I was released from hospital on the Saturday. We had the showcase on the Sunday, which I couldn't compete in because you know, people were more sensible than me. I would have, trust me, if they'd have given me the opportunity to compete in that showcase, I would have competed in that showcase. Hi, Amanda. Luckily, stars were a little bit more sensible than me, and Andy Mycock, real name, filled in for me. And I remember watching that showcase and just not being able to do it was horrific, man. It was so upsetting not being able to do something that I trained all year for and I really wanted to do. And not being able to do that was hard watching everybody, but you know, I knew it was for the best, so you just kind of let them get on with it and you let everyone do it, and they did so well, like especially Andy, who came in late to the game replacing me, did really, really well. Real name, no gimmicks. His real name is Andy Mycock. He's a top guy, if he's not watching at the minute, but he is a cool dude. So showcase is over. We open up all of our stashmas, as it's called, which is where we get all of our t-shirts and stuff before we fly out to Worlds. Hey Jen. So I'm looking forward to the Worlds now. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do really well. We've trained all year for this. It's looking good. Next day, get on the plane. We fly out to Atlanta. And we trained for a few days in the Stingrays gym, and we didn't know this at the time. This was a complete shock to us, but we were going to be in the Stingray Showcase, which goes out live, and I think over 1 million people all over the world watched Stingray Showcase before Worlds. So we arrived in Atlanta, go to the Stingrays gym for the first time. It's completely amazing. All of the coaches there are really friendly. We're watching all the teams, blown away by the talent. In the day we had to train, and I will never ever forget this. We do 25 star jumps as a warm-up. That's not all we do, but that was what part of our warm-up was, 25 star jumps. I did 25 star jumps and I was ready for bed. I was done. That was me. That was 25 star jumps. That was it. I was literally so tired after that, and I just couldn't figure out why. I just thought I was so unfit that 25 star jumps was my limit. So did my 25 star jumps, struggled through training, absolutely struggled through training, and it was evident that I was struggling. It was so obvious to everybody. So Andy and me were switching in during training, and we didn't know who was going to do Showcase or who was going to do Worlds. And they took me to the side and they explained this to me, and right there, that exact moment, I knew I was going to do Worlds. There, I knew that unless I was unconscious on the floor, unless I was not breathing, I was going to do everything I physically could to be on that Worlds floor. I had to. It was a year of training. I'd flown out to Stingrays. It was the first year we were there. There was nothing that was going to stop me from doing that. And tiredness aside, I could have been literally on the verge of a coma, and I still would have given the last 0.25% I had left in the tank, because that's what it meant. That's what it meant to be on that team. That's what it meant to be. But it's not. I think Lizzie just said my commitment is so inspiring, but I don't know. It was kind of selfish in a way, because I wanted to do, like, I had to. I felt like I was letting everybody down. There was no way that. It was inconceivable. The time I didn't know I had cancer at the time. That is correct, Mother. Thank you again. I'll never forget being in that gym and the things that were going through my head. Like, I was thinking maybe I should let Andy do it, and I was like, don't, no, like, I love the guy, but no, I've trained for this. I've put in so much effort for this. I've done everything to be here, and I've worked so hard to get here, and I can't not do it. So Showcase Day runs around, and they had to decide who was going in for the showcase, me or Andy. So we did 4 run-throughs, 2 with me, 2 with Andy, and they were going to decide after these run-throughs. So Andy was better at certain things in the routine. I was better at certain things than Andy. So eventually they decided to compromise and put us both in the routine. And cool. We go in for the showcase and it's buzzing, like Orange are there, Peach are there, Steel are there, Electric are there. All of these amazing teams are there warming up. Peach. It was incredible, man. Like, just the atmosphere in there was amazing. We did this warm-up, we did these 25 star jumps, and I did it again, and I was like, I don't know where I'm going to get the strength from to do this routine. I'm dead after 25 star jumps, man, but I've got to find it from somewhere. I have to do this. So, hey, Dean's joined. So we've already spoke about you, Dean, and my attempts at tossing you to hands and pressing you to lib that almost finished me off, which was my fault, not yours. Well, actually it was Cancer's fault. Let's blame Cancer. Anyway, 25 star jumps, dying on the floor. But I'm saying to myself, I have to find this from somewhere. I don't know where it's going to come from, but it's coming from somewhere, and god damn it, it's going to happen. So I think we were the first team to take the floor. We were the first team to take the floor. And it was probably one of the best run-throughs we'd ever done, I think, at that time. It was phenomenal, and everyone was really encouraging, like all the American parents and everything. They were really encouraging, and the buzz I got from that was probably way better than anything I've ever done at Worlds. It was something else, and I just remember thinking to myself before I went on that floor, if I'm yes, Dean. I remember thinking, but if I can't make it through a warm-up, if I can't do these 25 star jumps, how am I going to get through a routine? And I sort of pushed it to the back of my mind because, you know, you have to. You don't have a choice. Like, if there's something you want, you'll find. If I've always said to kids, I will always say this to kids: if you want it, you will find a way. If you don't, you will find an excuse. And there was not one goddamn excuse in the world that would have kept me from going onto that floor, save being told by one of my coaches that I couldn't, because that is what being on that team meant to me. That is what that whole experience meant. So we took to the floor. It was incredible, and I did half and Andy did half, and I came off that floor just feeling completely renewed. Like, everything felt good. I was in a great place. And I remember loads of the kids from Peach, I think it was Peach, they all wanted to stunt with me because I was so tall. You know, they were all like, hey, can you do a one-man? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So, you know, I was trying to stunt with all of these kids. And I was so tired, like, I was so tired. But I was thinking to myself, when am I going to do this again? So let's just get through it. You can sleep later. There's always later to sleep. There's always later to rest. Get through this, and you can rest later. So I did, and I probably wobbled more than I should have. I wasn't on my best game, but it didn't matter. It was incredible. And after that, we flew to Worlds. Bearing in mind, I've still not been diagnosed. I forgot that one part. I remember in the restaurant, going back to Esme's comment earlier, the day we flew out to Worlds, I was sat with Nicole in Frankie and Benny's eating breakfast. And she's a junior doctor. We were chatting at the time. We were chatting about like what was going on with my body, and if she was like, what sets it off, and I was like, I don't know. I really just don't know. It just comes on randomly. And I was like, I'm really worried. If it comes on in the Worlds, like, I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. It's so painful. Like, I've just got to curl up in a corner and cry until it stops hurting. Like, I can't do anything. It's that bad. So we went through everything that I was eating, and we were trying to figure out, like, what made it worse. And I think we got to fibrous foods. I remember it being really bad once after I ate beans on toast. So we're in Frankie and Penny's. Everyone's got these incredible English breakfasts, and Nicole forced me to settle for the healthy, like, yogurt oat porridge option thing, which was probably a good idea retrospectively, but at the time, I didn't want fruit and oats for breakfast. I wanted the English breakfast. Anyway, that was that story. So yeah, we finished at Atlanta. I've gone through all of that, and we get to Florida, and I'm not feeling terrible, but I know something is wrong with me by this point because I can't keep my eyes open half the time. And I'm just thinking, maybe I'm low on blood. Maybe I should eat more iron. I remember sitting on the plane actually, like, what if something happens on this flight? What if something really bad happens to my blood pressure on this flight? I don't know what I'm going to do. But the risk, I've got to risk it. I have to risk it because I want to be there. So I did. And I remember sitting on that plane the whole way to Worlds, and I'm just thinking, oh God, don't let anything happen to me. Oh God, please let everything be okay. Please let everything be okay. And it was fine. Anyway, we get to Florida, and I think that was the year of the most horrific flight ever. It was the most turbulent flight I've ever been on in my life, which probably, helped keep my minds off things. Yes, Leanne, what have I missed? Has Leanne said something? No. It was the most turbulent and terrifying flight of my life. We landed in Florida. It's so hot and it's so nice. And we just, I was concentrating on the job that I had to do. So Worlds is around the corner, and all I'm concentrating on is this competition. I've got a job to do. I've got certain things I've got to do in this routine. Oh, cool. There's certain things I've got to do in this routine, and there's certain things that I will do in this routine. I will do this. There is no other option but to hit this. There is no other way. Like, I completely believe that so much of cheerleading is mental. So much of life is mental. Like, if you believe you can do something and you go at something with everything you've got and you fail, it's not the end of the world. You just try again. And the only time that you will ever fail is when you stop trying. As long as you're trying, you're making progress. Every tiny little step forwards is still a step forwards. But anyway, there was no room for negativity. In my mind, I was 100% focused on getting to Worlds and doing this. So we got to Worlds, and it was a disaster. It was our worst Worlds ever. And, not to dwell on it, it doesn't matter. It was the first year that we did not make day 2. I think it was the first year that, you had to beat a certain number of British teams to get through to day 2. It was the first year that you didn't automatically qualify, and we didn't qualify. It didn't go well, and we didn't qualify. And the sting of not qualifying was painful. It was not quite as bad as the cancer, but it was pretty heartbreaking to not go through. It was a difficult time. But, we were with great people, and we all pulled together and made the most of it. After Worlds was over, week 2 was a holiday. Bunch of people went home, bunch of us stayed back to drink, and I was still worried. I was still worried about drinking and eating and having these stomach pains happening to me. Like, I just remember the whole time I was worried about these stomach pains happening while I was away. And luckily these guys gave me my own bedroom, and I did spend a lot of that holiday sleeping. And, I tried as much as I could to, like, party with everybody and be that guy, but everyone was staying up late, and I couldn't do it. I could not stay up late, and I was so confused at the time as why I just couldn't do these things. I couldn't keep up with everybody. I was tired after half a day of walking. It was difficult. Then we came home to the UK, and diagnosis got back on track. I was having more scans. It was when they decided to do a CT scan on my abdomen that I knew something was... I sort of had a clue what they were looking for by that point. And I remember the scan, and I remember the stomach pains came back, I remember the stomach pains coming back, because I remember trying to eat a cooked breakfast, and it was the worst thing ever. So I took some time off work after the scan, and I was going to drive home and see my family back to Bristol. So I got in the car, I drove home, just past Birmingham, and I got a phone call from my surgeon saying, "No, I didn't, that wasn't it." What happened? Oh, that's right, they got the CT scan results. They called me in, and I got taken to a little room, and a consultant surgeon came in, and they gave me the news, and they said to me, "We've got your results." And I just remember everything happening in slow motion from that point, because I knew it was bad. Like, I was in so much pain. I've never experienced pain like that before, and I knew right there and then that it was going to be bad. And as soon as they said that I had cancer, so many thoughts go through your head, like, so much goes through your head. And there was part of my brain that just shut down and panicked, and I was just thinking, good God, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is Jesus. This is not, what am I going to do? This is the end of the world. This is the end of my life. And that lasted for about half a second, because it took maybe a second. It took maybe a second for me to register that and say to the consultant surgeon, okay, what are we going to do about it? And right there in my mind, that I decided at that point that no matter what happened, no matter how bad things got, no matter what stage I was at, I was gonna fight this with everything I had. Absolutely everything I had in my system, in my tank, in my reserve. Whatever I had left in my entire being was going to go towards fighting this. And I don't lose fights. I do not lose fights. So I vowed then and there, that second, that I was going to beat this thing. And I also remember I was worried about what I was going to tell the kids at the gym, because I didn't want to worry people. Like, half of my mind was worried about telling people, because I didn't want people to say, you know, "Oh man, I'm so sorry, you know, I feel so bad for you, it really sucks." I just wanted people to support me and be like, you can fight this, you can win. And I didn't want to upset people at the gym. I didn't want to upset the kids. I just didn't want people to think that I was dying, for Christ's sakes. I wanted people to think that I could fight this. And I wanted people to help me fight this. And yeah, I remember driving home, and I remember getting past Birmingham, and the phone ringing, and my surgeon saying, "You have to come in now. We are going to operate on you." And I was like, I've just gone past Birmingham. I'm on my way to Bristol. And that's when my mum came back up to Manchester. I drove back to Bristol. I literally stayed there the night. And did I even stay there the night? I don't know. I think I picked up my mum and we just drove straight back to Manchester. I went into hospital that night, and I was operated on the next morning. And I remember going in that night, and it was a strange feeling. Like, it was uncertain. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen. It was an operation. I wasn't worried about the operation at all. I think I was more hopeful than anything. I just wanted the pain to go away. I still can't. I lack the necessary descriptive ability to describe how painful this pain was. And I just wanted it to never happen again. So I was just glad that they were going to do something about it. And I remember being wheeled down to the operating theatre. And I remember the giant needle they put into my spine. They gave me an epidural, which was actually not as bad as I thought it would be when I saw the size of the needle. It got me to hang my legs off the stretcher, lean forwards, so they could see my spine. Poof, in it went. It really wasn't that bad, to be honest. Then they came in to put me under. And maybe I'm weird, but I like anaesthetic. I like the feeling. I just like the way it feels. I like going to sleep. And I remember they put the mask on me and they said count backwards from 10. So I went, okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't think it worked. And I looked at the anaesthetist and she sort of looked at me for a second, turned her back, fiddled with some knobs and went, just try that again. And I went, it's not going to work, is it? Something's wrong. And I went, 10, 9, I was gone. The next thing I know, I'm waking up in hospital, and I'm in a lot of pain. It's pretty painful. They explained to me before that there is a chance I may wake up with a colostomy bag. There is a chance, if I do wake up with a colostomy bag, a pretty high chance that if it'll be reversible in a couple months, so they'll be able to get rid of it. So, you know, there's that. I wake up, I'm not even thinking about that. They gave me this button. Anyone who came to visit me in hospital will tell you how much I loved this button. Basically, it was a little green button, and every time it lit up green, I was allowed to have morphine injected straight into my bloodstream. And I didn't really understand how it worked, first of all, because I was still, you know, coming round from the surgery, and one of the nurses said to me, do you understand how this works? I'm like, yeah, you press it, it gives you painkillers. Yeah, that's it. Okay, cool. So, a couple of hours later, this nurse comes back. She was like, are you sure you understand how this button works? Yeah, I'll press it, it gives me painkillers. It's not quite that simple. Every 10 minutes it'll light up, and you can press it. But the machine registers how many times you press it. And you've asked it for morphine 146 times in an hour. I was like, oh, obviously I'm in a bit of pain, that's why. So, yeah, there was the morphine button. And I remember the next day, after I had the surgery, Tom came in, and I woke up, and Tom was there, and he looked at me and he said, have you got the colostomy bag? And I just looked at him and I was like, dude, I've not even checked, man. I have no idea. I've got this little green button. Every time I press it, it's essentially giving me heroin, and it's awesome, and I don't know. And I looked down, I pulled the covers up for the first time, I looked down, and there was no colostomy bag. And I was like, everything is good. But what I did have was these metallic wires coming out of the top of my abdomen here. There was 3 of them. And I asked what they were for, because they just went straight into my skin, and I had no idea where they went. Mum was with Tom. Mum, you're loving this. You're way more famous than I am. Maybe you should go live and tell my story. I had these 3 wires, and I had no idea what they were for, so I asked one of the nurses, and they said it's for delivering pain medication directly to the pain site. It's a new thing. But yeah, we can deliver medication directly to the pain site. Cool. I think they used it once the entire time I was in hospital. But I had loads of visitors. People came in to see me. There was one point where I think like all of midnight came in to come and say hi, which probably wasn't, you know, great for everybody else in hospital. But you know, screw those guys. I was in there, and it was great for me. So I got to see lots and lots of people came in to say, you know, how you doing, giving me support and everything like that. And it was great. And at this time, my mum was living in my house with the guys. I think she lived there for like a week, because I was in hospital for a week. And if you are watching this and you know who I am, you'll know that I am incredibly tall. And them hospital beds ain't tall. Them hospital beds are not built for people like me. And after a week, I was like saying to my mum, I was saying to anybody that would listen, I can't be here any longer, my back hurts so much, like I can't sleep. This dude across the hall just moans all night and sleeps all day, and I just can't do this anymore. I need to get out of here. So after 5 days maybe, did my toes poke out the bottom? My toes did poke out the bottom, and I had to wear these awful socks to stop me from getting a blood clot. And they didn't even fit me because they don't make them in a size 15. Like, there ain't many freaks on the NHS. Well, there's probably a lot of freaks on the NHS, but there ain't many big guys with massive feet on the NHS. So they don't make socks for me. They were really painful, and I hated wearing them as well, which was another reason I didn't want to be in there. But after 3 days, they took the wires, 4 or 5 days, they took the wires out of my stomach. And I kid you not, man, like, go on my Instagram, scroll down quite a bit, and look for these wires, and they are long. There was a lot of wire in me. That was not pleasant coming out. I got to use the morphine. I got to use the morphine button, and they gave me like a morphine drink to drink as well when they took him out, and it still hurt. And I'll never forget the first day they sat me up as well. That was incredibly painful. It was, I think there were tears in my eyes when they did that because it hurt so much. And every day I had to get up out of my bed and sit in this chair, and it was awful. It was so painful. But, you know, that was part of the healing process. That was what I had to do, so that's what I did. And yeah, after a week of that, they said to me, we need to check that we've basically plumbed you up correctly. We need to check that your bowel's working. So once you've pooped a couple times, we'll send you home. So I'm just like, right, okay, game on. Let's do this. And 2 days later, I still hadn't pooped. I mean, I hadn't pooped for about 4 or 5 days. And if you know me, that is a long time. So, was it keyhole surgery? It was not keyhole surgery. I'll tell you what, in fact, this is my scar to prove that it ain't keyhole surgery. That was where they cut me. I apologise if you're eating your tea and saw that. That's probably why it was so painful. Where was I? Yeah, pooping a couple times, so game on, I'm going to do this. After 2 days of trying to poop and I hadn't pooped. Was a cancer in my stomach? It was in my bowel. The cancer was in my bowel. So after 2 days of not pooping, I really had started to panic. And I mean, I was starting to eat a little bit by this point, so I was like, something's going to have to happen sooner or later. And eventually it did. It wasn't pleasant. It was not cool, but, you know, they sort of explained to me that that part of my life will never be normal again. And it's one of those things, you know, I've learned to live with it over the last 2 years. It's not great, but, you know, certainly better than the alternative. So anyway, we were done with the hospital. I get out of hospital. Did I have to go on a restricted diet after? I had to. After I got out of hospital, I saw a dietitian, and there was a bunch of foods that I was allowed to eat and I wasn't allowed to eat. And I had to take these drinks. I had to drink these Fortisip drinks because my weight was like 26% body weight. I was down to like 16.5 stone. And bearing in mind, there's points in my life where I've weighed up to 21 stone. So, yeah, 5 stone of me had gone somewhere. I did change the way I eat a lot. How much bowel did they remove? A fair bit. My surgeon explained it like most people's bowels do this. Yours now does this. Yeah, I also had to inject myself in the stomach with Clexane every single night. I had to do that myself. They showed me how to do that before I left. But this is my favourite part of the story. I wanted to get out of that hospital so bad I was willing to say and do anything. So by the time I got out, I probably was not 100%. And if you know me, I don't really like sitting down and not doing much. So maybe a day or two after I got home, I pretty much forced my mum and Tom to take me to the Trafford Centre so I could have a little walk around and just get out of the house. So, you know, we did that, cool, got some cake, went to the Trafford Centre, did some stuff, looked around, had a little walk, came back, and I think we watched a film. So me and Tom and Mum sat watching a film, and it finished, and I got up to change the projector, and Tom went outside to do the bins. And I got up, I stood up, and everything just started getting dark, and everyone started, every sound I could hear was getting further and further away, and my world was getting darker and darker and darker. And then I woke up, and I was on the floor, and I was so confused. I was next to a table, well, I was under a table, and Tom was there holding my legs, and my first thought when I woke up was, what did I want from under this table, and why did I lie down on the floor to get it? And then my mum is there panicking, and what happened is I'd stood up too quickly, lost blood pressure, my blood pressure had dropped too quickly for my body to regulate, and I blacked out. I fell backwards, through a doorway, under a table, landed with my elbow first on the floor, then my head probably. My mum had screamed. Bear in mind that my mum has been a trained nurse for 30 odd years. I'm sure Mother will pop up now to correct me. But, you know, my mum's this medical professional who should know exactly what to do in the situation. But panicked. Tom came running in because he heard my mum screaming. Mum screaming, I'm on the floor. Luckily, Tom knew what to do, picked up my legs, got the blood back to my head, and I woke up and I was just like, I don't know why everyone's panicking, man. I'm good, let me stand up. No, stay down. No, I'm fine. My elbow hurts a little bit though. 38 years my mother had been a nurse by that point. 38 years. And yeah, that was that day, which, lol. So, yeah, then, you know, there was the slow recovery after that. And that was kind of sucky as well. Getting back on track, I do remember after a large number of weeks, I went back to the gym. And I couldn't, you know, because I just showed you my scar, you've seen how much they cut. I believe the surgeon said that the cancer had grown around my bowel like a polo. So it was fibrous foods that were setting things off. So basically the fibre was building up in my system. It was creating a blockage. Nothing could get through because the cancer was growing around it. And it would back up so much that eventually it would just push it through, and that was where the pain was coming from. So you know, I was told that, you know, I can eat whatever I want now. I'm good. My bowel's been fixed. Eat what you want. So cool. You know, I did, and I was sort of back to normal in a sense that I could eat. But I do remember we went to Bar Burrito afterwards when we went to the Trafford Centre. And I can polish off a large burrito and still have room for a little bit more. And I think I got through half a burrito. And I was like, I'm done. I cannot do any more than this. This is literally, I'm going to throw up if I eat any more. So that was, you know, not cool. And it took a while, man. It took like over a year before I got my appetite back. Like, I still struggle with a large Domino's. And before, a large Domino's would be like, psh, what are we having afterwards? I've literally got a Pizza Hut in the fridge right now because I couldn't eat it today. Anyway, let's get back onto to the next year's Worlds, 2016, where the story really gets good. I made the team originally at the time, but after getting a cancer diagnosis and spending so long in hospital, I was pushed to a reserve. Which, you know, makes complete sense. The team were training, I was on the sideline. Don't forget the chemo. I won't forget the chemo. I was on the sideline because I also had to have chemo. See what I did there? I linked it in. Basically, I went to see an oncologist, which is a fancy word for blood doctor. And looking back at the pain that you had prior to the World's build-up, do you remember it being there before? Oh, I remember the pain. I will never forget that pain. But no, I literally had it a couple months before Worlds, and it would come and go. like I said, because I was eating all of this fibre and it was building up in my system and then forcing its way through, so depending on what I ate was depending on when it came. At the time I didn't know that. But yeah, I see this oncologist and he said to me, chemotherapy is optional. You don't have to do it. But I think it was like, it will reduce your chance of ever getting cancer again by 6%. And at first I was like, 6%? Man, is it worth it? Like, chemotherapy, 6%. That seems like an awful low number for what I'm going to have to go through. And I think the doctor saw what was going on in my head, and he just said to me, if you ever get cancer again, you will regret not doing the chemo. If you do the chemo and you don't get cancer again, brilliant. If you do the chemo, there were two spots. You're right, Mother. There were two spots still left. There were two small spots of cancerous cells, very small spots left after they cut everything out. I think before they cut the cancer out, it got to stage 2 or 3. It was spreading outside. It spread to a vein, and it was not quite at my lymph nodes, but it was just starting to spread. So the chemotherapy was recommended, but it wasn't required. It was optional. And obviously I decided to do the chemotherapy because I don't want cancer again, man. It was not fun. So that was happening. Every 3 weeks, I would walk to the Christie in Didsbury, and I would have chemotherapy in pill form. It was capecitabine or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a pharmacologist, but it was a pill form of cancer, and the amount that you were supposed to have depended on your weight and size. And I remember getting weighed and measured, and they went to do the calculation on the computer to see how much they should give me, and the woman was just like, the amount that it's telling me to give you is more than the amount that we're legally allowed to prescribe, so I'm just going to have to prescribe you the highest amount that we legally can, and we're going to go with that. And, you know, we'll monitor your side effects and we'll keep monitoring you. That's what it'll do. But it's this drug it was a pill form of chemo. Did I say a pill form of cancer? That would be really bad. It was a pill form of chemo. But she said, yeah, the pills are very, very dangerous. So you can only have a 2-week supply at any one time. You'll do 2 weeks on and then a week off. And they went through the side effects, which were pain in the extremities, loss of skin in the extremities, so hands and feet. I could lose my hair, not a typical side effect, but it's not unknown to happen, so hair loss could have happened. And when you read the instructions that come with these pills, sudden and unexplained death was a side effect listed, which, you know, that's probably not the one you want. So sore mouth, oh yeah, the sore mouth was also, that was really bad. So I would get mouth ulcers like you wouldn't believe, and they gave me like things to combat all of these things. So I had Aveeno stuff for my skin, I had Cordyceil stuff for my mouth ulcers, I had sickness pills, I had diarrhea pills, I had millions and millions of pills. Literally, I walked out of the Christie with a carrier bag every 3 weeks. So what they would do is, I would have my blood taken, I would get checked, they'd see how I was doing, they'd monitor all my vital signs, then I would get given a ticket. I would take the ticket to this special chemist within the hospital, and then I would go away for a few hours. Is it hereditary? Cancer is hereditary, but this form of cancer was not hereditary because I had to see a woman who went through my entire family history and worked it out, and this was just very, very unfortunate. But anyway, I would get this ticket, wait a few hours, come back, get a carrier bag full of goodies, and off I go. That's 2 weeks worth of chemo. And if you were in the gym or you saw my Instagram around that time, you would know that I had this great big leather case, and I would sit there on a Monday in the gym, and I would just take all these pills out of their individual packets. I would put them all into this leather case, and then I was done for 2 weeks. All I'd have to do is pop open one of the doors on this leather case, next 7 pills in the morning, 7 pills in the evening, good to go. And maybe a month, my tumour was tested to see if it was a hereditary type, and it wasn't. I've been through that. A month into chemo, we had planned to climb Mount Snowdon to raise money for Worlds and also cheer sport. So the plan was to carry someone all the way up the mountain, and was neuropenia an issue with that chemo? I don't know what neuropenia is. Neuro meaning neutropenia? I don't know what that is, so probably everything was an issue with that chemo. Anyway, I'm sure she'll explain in a second and I can answer. But low blood counts. I think it maybe was an issue, but I was on iron tablets anyway. Like they were monitoring my blood like so much, so it wasn't ever an issue again. Like those 2 blood transfusions, the iron transfusions, the only one I ever actually had to have. But we were wandering up this mountain for charity. Well, not for charity, to raise money, and I had a lot of really, really helpful people from all over the country. Really, were donating money to help me, because I couldn't work while I was recovering from cancer. I was literally on no money at all. My work were paying me £300 a month statutory sick pay, which covered my rent, and that was it. That was all I had to live on. So I was pretty much relying on strangers and my family, and it was a difficult time, man. It was really, really hard. So getting back, we were climbing this mountain. Also on my Just Giving page for climbing this mountain, the surgeons, the medical team that looked after me, donated £100 to me, which was really well received, and if any of them should be watching, thank you so much. Yeah, we climbed up Mount Snowdon, got to the top, and it was an achievement. Like, I remember looking out on the view and just thinking, how did I get up here? My feet were in bits. I think they were bleeding. I think I bled through my socks because I was losing that much skin on my feet. And I got down again, and there was at that point, I think, reaching the bottom of the mountain, that I thought, I can do this. This is going to happen. Like, I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to see this through. So got to the bottom of the mountain, and I'm still an alternate on Midnight. I'm still not officially on the Worlds team yet, and something happened. Loads of people went. Everything changed, and they needed another boy. And I remember having this conversation with the coach, Chad Byrne, and she was like, you're on chemotherapy, I don't know what you're going to be like at training, and I don't, basically putting you on the team is going to be a massive risk. What do you think? And I just said, like, if you're willing to take the risk, I'm willing to put in the effort. So it's up to you. If you want to take the risk, I can guarantee you that I will put in the work. I will put in everything. Anything you want me to do, I will do it. Don't treat me differently. I'll just do what you want me to do. And if it hurts, then it hurts. I'll just push through it. And we had training that year at the National Gymnastics Centre in Lilleshall. It was a 2-day residential camp. It was choreograph weekend that weekend, so we had 2 guys from Stingrays over from America to choreograph the routine. And I remember day 2 crying at the back of the floor because I had nothing else to give. It was late at night. We'd been there for 2 days. And all you could hear was one more time. We need you to do it one more time. And I think that was the only point during this entire campaign that I doubted myself. And I thought, I can't do this. I'm not going to make this. This is too hard. I don't think I can do this. And everybody on the team was willing me on. Everybody on Midnight Analyps was there for me. They were pushing me through the routine. They were just helping me in any way they could. And I'm getting a bit emotional thinking about it, because it was so damn hard. It was the hardest ever. But, you know, I got through it because everybody helped. And it was hard. It was so hard. But after that day, even Jan Burns said that, you know, she felt horrible about having to do it, but it had to be done. We had to get it done, and we did get it done. And I don't know how I made it. I really don't. Like, if that group of people were not there on that day, I wouldn't have made it to Worlds that year. I would have just said, this can't be done. It's too hard. I'm not going to make it. So that was the turning point. Then after the end of that day, I was like, if I'm not going to do this for myself, I am going to do it for every single person in this gym, in this building, that has just told me that I can do it, that has believed in me, that has shown me there is more inside me than I've ever thought possible. I will do it for them. And the season went on, and it was a hard season, man. It was a hard season. You've just got to look at some of my pictures. I was losing skin on my feet. I was losing toenails. I think just after Worlds, I'd lost all of my toenails. I'd gone. That was it. I was in so much pain, but there was no way there was no way I could give up, because everybody was telling me I could do it. Like, everybody at the gym believed in me and lent me their strength, and even the parents were chipping in. They were, I was getting cards off of people with money in it, helping me out. And I won Cheerleader of the Year that year because of everything that I was going through, and literally everybody was just helping me out. And I couldn't have done it without those people. Like, it just wouldn't have happened. And it was a slog. It was horrific. It was a long season. It was a difficult season. We didn't always get the results we wanted. People left, people joined. We had a really good core group. But yeah, we got to Worlds, and we'd gone through a lot as a team. We'd gone through a lot as a gym, both of us, Midnight Analyps. We'd gone through a lot, and I will never forget walking into that Stingray gym in 2016 and just thinking, Jesus Christ. A year ago I was here, and I was on death's door. I could have died. Like, I shouldn't be here now. Like, if it wasn't for the NHS in helping me, I just wouldn't be alive right now. And if it wasn't for everybody else pushing me and spurring me on, I wouldn't be here. It couldn't have happened. I was so grateful just to walk in that door and be part of what I was part of that team. I was so grateful just to be there. Like, even if I hadn't have made it to the floor at that time, just to walk in that gym and just to be there was something else, man. It was incredible. It was the best feeling ever. And I remember doing the warm-up and just having energy, just thinking, my God, I can do this. This is, compared to last year, this is going to be a breeze. I'm going to hit this and I'm going to destroy this. This is going to be so easy. And we did the warm-up. Sorry, I'm shaking a bit with this hand now. Let's just change hands. Did the warm-up. We queued up to do the showcase. And I remember the feeling of that showcase. That showcase was probably one of the best midnight performances ever on any platform. It was something else. It was incredible. The feeling was incredible. Everything hit. Everything looked great. One of the parents asked whereabouts in America we were from. It was incredible. It was. I didn't even need to go to Worlds after that. That was me done. I was so happy just to have battled through everything and just to have made that. It didn't, like, nothing else from that point mattered. And we got on the plane, we went to Florida, and day one of Worlds was intense because of the last year, because we just weren't sure what was going to happen. And I remember distinctly, I don't really remember the routine on day one, to be honest. I can't remember competing. I really don't. I know it went well. I remember it going well. And we just thought, you know, okay, we've done the best we could possibly do. So what may be, if we get the score we need to advance, then, you know, we're just going to take it as it comes. If we get the score, great. If we don't, we've done ourselves proud. We've done better than we did last year, and we can at least walk away with our heads held high. And you get your scores at Worlds, if you've never been, by sitting in a massive tent with two huge screens, and they flash up the scores for your performance on these screens, and it's out of 200. And I think the previous year we'd gotten real low, like 60 something, and I'd never really gotten a high score at Worlds. And I was sat with Rory, and I turned to Rory before the scores were announced, and I just said to Rory, dude, if we score over 100, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just break down. I'm going to be a mess. If we score over 100, I'm just going to be in tears. And Rory was like, I know what you mean. Like, this is intense. And we sat there. And we waited. And when our score came up with 103 point something, we lost. I just started crying because it was worth it. Everything was worth it. Everything that I'd gone through. I knew at that point that if I was given the choice to relive that moment, but I had to go through everything again, I would, because I'd done everything. I'd made it. I'd done exactly what I set out to do, and it was incredible. And we were all jumping around and hugging each other, and it was fantastic. The mood, everyone was on such a high. And we showed up at Worlds the next day, and I do remember this one because we'd had a small infraction. I don't think they gave us the infraction, but it was a warning, so we had to change it. So we went away that night and worked on changing what we needed to change. And it came back, and the next day we were feeling good, we were confident, everything was going to go well, and warm-up was pretty decent. We had a decent warm-up, and we get onto that floor and stuck it. We just did, everybody did exactly what they had to do, and it felt great. Like, we came off that floor and we were like, we don't even care what our score is because it was that good. We were so happy. And we went away. We came back again for the division. The way they announce the divisions at Worlds is if you're in the top 10, you get to go down onto the main Worlds floor and they announce the top 10. If you ain't in the top 10, then, you know, you just get to sit at the side and watch. I've never been in the top 10 before. That was my aim that year, was to make the top 10 at Worlds. But by that point, I really didn't care. We could have come 11th. We could have come 15th and I would have been happy with what we'd done. And we just sat there and they announced the top 10 teams in no particular order. I think we were one of the last to be announced. And my God, when they said Rising Stars Midnight, people were like falling over chairs. Like, we were so elated just to go down and share that floor with the 10 best teams in the world. It was such an honour. And they start announcing, you get down onto the floor and they do a little speech and everything. And they go to announce 10th place, and we're all ready to jump up because, we didn't, we're not thinking, we're going to be that, that amazing. I think the day before from the scores, we were sitting in like not that high a place. So they go to announce 10th place, and we're all ready to jump up and go, yeah, woo, we're happy we made top 10. And someone else gets announced in 10th place, and we were just gobsmacked. Could not believe it. And then they announced us in 9th, and we were so goddamn happy to be 9th. We just lost it on the floor. Everyone was so happy. Like, American teams were looking at us confused, like, why are they celebrating 9th place? But, to us, that was everything. 9th place, man, in the world. And we had some friends from Stingray's Electric that year, and they were coming over and congratulating us, and they were so happy. Everyone was so happy that we got 9th. Cov came over and, were celebrating with us. I think they got 5th that year, so, they did even better than us, and it was just incredible. I got a picture with the trophy in front of the world's floor, and I turned to Tom and I just said I would do it all again. Chemo, the operation, everything I'd do again to relive that moment. And that, if you are watching this and you have never been to Worlds and you want to get there one day, that is what it means. That is the effort that you have got to put in. If you are not finishing every single training on the floor, giving everything you've given, then you're not giving 100%, and it's not something you want that badly. Like I said at the start of this video, if you want something, you will find a way. If you don't want it, you will find an excuse. And there were no excuses that year. That year was the highlight of my cheerleading career. This year, I went on with Electra to win 7th in the world, and it still didn't feel as special as winning 9th. And I will never forget that group of people, and I will never forget that experience. And I proved that illness is tough, it's hard, but it's not a barrier. It's a barrier that you can jump over, you can smash through, you can go under, you can do whatever you want to that barrier, but you can get around it somehow. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some conditions out there that there is nothing you can do. Like, you just got to do the best with what you can. But that is my biggest belief in life, that no matter what life hands you, do what you can with it. You have to make the best out of every situation. No one is going to do it for you. No one is going to come along and wave a magic wand to make everything better for you. Yeah, life is going to get hard. Life is going to get real goddamn hard sometimes. And just to put things in perspective, this whole, I don't know how long I've been talking for now, it feels like forever, maybe an hour. This whole story that I've just told you, that is probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me. But someone else may come along and maybe it's not as bad as what I've been through, but still to them that's the worst goddamn thing in the world. That's the worst thing that they've ever faced. So in a way it's on the same, and you should treat everybody going through a tough time as the same. Like, it doesn't matter what your tough time is. It doesn't matter, because it could still affect you the same way it affected me. Like, if someone is struggling, lift them up. You won't get any taller by standing on somebody else. you will get taller by lifting somebody up to share your platform with you, because somebody else will then lift you up. You just have to rise above everything. Like, life will beat you, life will stamp on you, life will hurt you, life will get so hard sometimes, so damn hard, and you will feel alone, you will feel in the dark, you will feel horrible, like you'll feel worse than what I've gone through maybe. Like, I know there's people out there that are struggling with things like mental health, and you know, I've read things that saying to a depressed person cheer up is like saying to an asthmatic, well, there's loads of air in the room, why don't you just start breathing? You know, everyone goes through something different, and you might not always understand what other people are going through, but you should always do your best to support them. I wouldn't have been here today without the support that I had. And there's probably not many people watching this that will know who Joey is, but Joey was one of my best friends who sadly lost his battle with cancer. It started off as skin cancer and spread to his brain, but he was a larger-than-life character, and I learned so much from that guy about how to be strong and how to live life, because when he was at his worst, when he was, you know, really, really ill, when he was pretty much given a death sentence, that guy, man, you wouldn't know it to look at him, you wouldn't know it to talk to him. He had a different perspective on the world than anybody else ever has, and that guy, like, he's still watching out for me and my family from wherever he is up there, whatever you believe in. If you believe in a God or an afterlife, whatever, but I'll tell you something, that man is still up there now, and he's still watching over me, because I probably shouldn't be here today telling you this, like, shouldn't be here, and I am, and I just think it's a testament to everybody else, to the people that I had helping me, to my family who supported me, from my mum, my dad, my sister, my nan, everybody that gave me something, whether it was mental, physical, financial, every little thing helps. And I get a lot of messages from kids that say, my friend's got cancer, my mum's got cancer, what do I do? And if you are ever in that situation, there is nothing you can do except be there. That's all you can do. You can just offer your support emotionally. They don't want you to say, oh man, it sucks, you know, they just want you to be there. And if you know someone with cancer, if you know someone on chemo, they are going to sleep a lot. And you've just got to respect that and just be there for them, man. Just be there. That's all I can say, man. Tom has just joined. Tom, you missed the story where I passed out. And you missed all. You just watch it later. But I want to thank everybody who is tuned into this, or who will tune into this and watch it at any point. If you have any questions for me at all regarding anything, please feel free to ask. I don't know. One thing I'm going to say, like, everybody says I'm inspirational, but I really do not feel inspirational. If you want to see inspirational, then go down to a hospice and look at a kid, to go talk to a kid there that's got cancer and they're fighting that, and they're 8 years old, 9 years old. To me, that is inspirational. Like, if you've got any free time and you want to do something with it, donate your time to a charity. It could be anything. It could literally be anything. But if you'll never see me say I'm bored, because if I literally have nothing to do, then I will go and do something with my time, and I will go and be productive with my time, and I will go and donate my time to somebody else, because I don't want to just sit down and be idle and do nothing, because all the people that invested their time in me gave me the chance to do what I did, and they gave me the chance to still be here and still do what I did and still pass on my knowledge and my experiences, and that I would be nothing without other people. So essentially, like, what I did was, in my opinion, selfish because I wanted it so bad, but I will always recognise the help that I received, and I received a goddamn lot of help, and I can't express enough thanks. I've still kept every single note and every single card I've ever got from anybody, particularly my sister's, who was my favourite card. I don't know where she found it, but it said, it was an actual, like, proper printed card, and it said, "May your chemo give you superpowers." But I do have a drawer. I have it. In fact, let me just point you at the ceiling 2 seconds, because I really want to read a couple of these cards just to give you like a flavour of what I was doing. I do apologise for the dismal view. Probably better than my scar earlier though. Let me just find, that's a happy birthday card. Merry Christmas, bruv. That's my sister again. Oh, that's the other drawer. I've lost half my followers now because I don't like looking at the light and listening to them talking to myself. And I said I took everything, I can't remember what, here we go. This is it. There's one, two, that one. Almost there, sorry people. If you're still with me, fair play. I wouldn't be anymore, so hey. I apologise for that. Not that one. So this is what we do on Stars. Is before Worlds, you pick a name out of a hat and you have to write something about them, and this is the one from 2016 that I received. Usually I keep them in a pouch on my Worlds thing, but this one says, "To Big Matt, first of all, I'm not going to make this about cancer because that's not what defines you as a person. I'll tell you what does define you: your commitment, your drive." Oh, this is not a good angle for me. "Your commitment, your drive, your selfishness, and willingness to help as much as you can whenever you can. I haven't known you for long, but you've been an inspiration to me since I met you. You are an amazing athlete, and you're going to go on that world's floor and continue to inspire others because you're going to absolutely smash this." And yeah, I've always kept that one. Yeah. That was another card. This one is one of my favourites ever. And this is when I went to Atlanta with Storm. The first time I went to Atlanta, someone wrote me a card that said, "The whole of Storm are entirely over the moon you have come to support us in America. You're a huge inspiration to not just me or Storm, but to the whole of Rising Stars and other clubs. Last season with Luna, I was so honoured to have such a hard-working, determined, brave and strong coach to look up to." Ah, man, I'm going again. "Thank you for helping us. Storm are going to go out and smash it for you. We are all wishing you a huge good luck for when you take that world floor in April. You deserve it so much. We're so proud of you. You'll smash it." And I literally keep all of the things like this. In fact, Garrett, I'm so glad I still have my tissues. I keep everything like that because it also, and I've got these things on my wardrobe, which one of them says, "Some people think that to be strong is to never feel pain. In reality, the strongest people are the ones who feel it, understand it, and accept it." And that's true. One says, "You've got what it takes, but it will take everything you've got." And goddamn right it will. whatever your goal is, if it's a real goal, then that is what you should be coming at it with. Everything you've got. Another one I've got says, I want to inspire people. I want someone to look at me and say, because of you, I didn't give up. And that is part of the reason why I've chosen to do this live feed today. If I can inspire one person to work that a little bit harder, to push themselves out a little bit further and to achieve their dream, then I've done something. And I'm happy. And with reference to the scar, my last one says, out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. And that's true. And I've got a lot of them, and every single one is a different story. What else do I have? My illness will not define me, my strength and courage will. True strength is keeping it together when everyone would understand if you fell apart. And let me just show you what I mean with some of these. And I keep these on my wardrobe. There we go. Failure does not come from falling. Failure comes from not getting back up. At any given moment, you have the chance to change how the story will end, which is completely true. And a dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination and hard work. Faith over fear, believe in yourself, work hard and win. I keep all of those by my wardrobe just to remind me of everything that I've just gone through with you guys, everything that I've said, and yep, I'm going to leave you shortly, but before I go, there, if you can see, that is all the guys from 2016 who pushed me to do what I did. This one down here, the very last picture in the bottom left, is the entire gym from that year, and the top left is us in Stingray's gym, getting ready to do a full out, all sat in a circle listening to the music and visualising everything hitting. So yeah, thank you very much for listening to my story. I hope it wasn't too long and boring. I will try and make this available to watch afterwards in case anybody would like to catch up with it, but I'll finish off by saying, if you have any questions on absolutely anything, or you know, if you ever need someone to talk to about anything, then you know, drop me a message. I'm always around. I'm always happy to share my experiences, and I'm always happy to talk to anybody about anything. If I can help anybody out in any way, I'm more than happy to do that. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you so much for sharing my story. Adam Garrett with awesome live video, mate. It's nice to see a live inspiring feed. I normally watch drunk people live. You should get together a Stand Up to Cancer Legends team to raise some cash. Maybe I will, man. Maybe now that I've retired from cheer, I will do something partner stunty to raise some money for cancer. I'm already thinking about running a Tough Mudder next year to raise money for cancer. And one thing I do, I will share this before I go, since my friend Joey passed, every Christmas I don't give out cards anymore, because what do people do with cards? Like after Christmas, you recycle them or you just bin them. I take the £20 I would have spent on stamps and letters and cards, and I donate it to cancer research, or I'll give £10 to cancer research and £10 to Macmillan, who also helped me a lot. As did the Willow Foundation. If you don't know what the Willow Foundation are, they are a charitable organisation who organise days out and things like that for people on cancer, people struggling with chemotherapy, and it just gives them something to look forward to. And I'm guessing not everyone will agree it was a nice day out, but I got to go and watch a Man United game in a box, all meals paid for and everything like that, thanks to the Willow Foundation. And I brought Tom with me, who's an Everton fan, so double win for me. But yeah, thank you very much to Macmillan, the Willow Foundation, Cancer Research, my surgeons, the NHS, everybody who looked after me. I know I've said thank you a million times throughout this entire video, but I really, really mean thank you from the bottom of my heart. And again, I'm going to end now by saying, if there is ever anything I can do, if there is anything I can talk through with anybody, if my experiences can help anybody in any way at all, please feel free to get in contact with me, and I will do whatever I can. Thank you very much, guys, and I'm done.